This is CBC Windsor News. I'm Chris Henson. Katerina is away. Thanks for joining us. We've got an icy rescue led by staff at a pizza shop and a look at how winter is slipping away in Windsor. But we start with a story about a major setback in the city's push to help people who are homeless. The site the council selected for a permanent housing and homelessness help hub is off the table. The CBC's Dawson Chen tells us why.
Windsor's plan to build a homelessness and housing help hub here at 700 Wellington Avenue is dead. The city said today that it is no longer pursuing this land as a new permanent H4 site because acquiring the property will be too expensive. The decision came after a due diligence report. 8 months ago, when the site was announced, city administration said attempts to buy the land were unsuccessful and expropriation would be necessary. Despite those concerns, the site was hailed as a giant step forward in the city's efforts to deal with homelessness. But things have changed. Still, Kirk Whittle, the city's executive director of Housing and Children's Services, says this doesn't mean the H4 project is over.
Like many projects that might have, I'll say hiccups. It's just, once again, we're just going to go back to the drawing board and start looking at acquiring sites and try to do that as quickly as possible so that we can get this project moving. This isn't to say we're saying no H4. We're looking at a new permanent H4, better location, and find a site that meets the budgetary discipline that we need to show.
The city had hoped the Wellington Avenue site would be up and running in 2027. Whittle said he doesn't have a timeline for a different location now. Residents have said they're concerned about their property values, crime, and safety. Ward 2 Councillor Fabio Costante says he's always been against putting the new H4 at Wellington Avenue.
It was, in my view, furthest away from the services that many of these individuals experiencing homelessness rely on. Second reason is the unknown costs and risk of expropriation. We knew that to get this land, we had to expropriate, and there's a lot of costs and risk associated with that. We've got to be really thoughtful and make sure that we do this right, because it could have serious implications if we don't.
If not here, where? That's become an unanswered question once again. In the meantime, the city says it's expanding its shelter system and exploring converting the pool at the former Windsor Water World into more beds. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
The people who work at this pizza shop behind me are being thanked for their quick action, for stepping up at a moment when someone was screaming for help. Being told what they did may have saved 2 lives. A delivery driver hears the screams and staff race to the icy harbor. It's dark, it's cold, and there's 2 men who need help.
Right when we get there were 2 people in the water. One person was trying to push the other person up.
But the edge right here is too high and there isn't a ladder in sight. So restaurant owner Mo Rashawn throws himself to the ground and reaches for their hands.
The sidewalk was icy, completely iced, and we were running and was like slipping and sliding. Right away I got there and I got on my stomach and I tried to reach for the guy to get him out.
The first man's out within minutes. Staff chuck a life preserver to the second guy.
I mean, we tried everything we can. It was a struggle. We struggled for 10 minutes to try to get this guy out of the water, and it was hard because we couldn't do anything. We couldn't pull him out. It was icy. It was cold. I mean, I felt that I was going to fall in the water too when I was trying to pull up.
Employees grab a ladder from the restaurant. They throw it over the edge.
He took a step up and then he fell back in the water. He said he can't feel his legs. He's too cold. He wants out. I grabbed his jacket. I've got my 2 other coats to grab his shoulder. The second that we had a grip on him, and we just pulled him out, and once he was out, everyone was relieved.
EMS on scene treat both men for injuries. Rashwan says security video shows the men were in the water for 7 minutes before his team arrives, and it takes 10 minutes to get the second man out. The men, it turns out, are brothers. They were fishing on the harbor when the youngest slipped in the water, and the older brother jumped in to help. Rashwan met their father. He came by to say thanks to the staff.
We were at the right place at the right time, and anyone else could have done the same thing. I mean, I have the best team, and I have the best staff. Yes, I'm happy with everyone that I have here. Good heart. Everyone have a good heart.
Staff of the shop tell me there's 3 things they want the city to consider. Either a ladder along the edge so people can climb out or be pulled out using that ladder, a fence to stop people from falling in altogether, or a security guard who can be here to spring into action if an emergency occurs. One thing is for certain, though. At pizza shops in Windsor, you can order the super. At this one here, it's made by superheroes. Very thankful there's a happy ending to that story there. You can now see in real time how many people are waiting for help inside of emergency rooms. Windsor Regional Hospital and Erie Shores in Leamington are relaunching their wait time clocks. You can access these online. You can also see them at the hospital. The new clocks show how many patients are waiting and the average wait time to see a doctor. Kristen Kennedy is the president and CEO of Erie Shores. She says this is the first time they're launching a tool like this that uses live data.
It's a point in time. It does refresh every 15 minutes, but it is a good picture for the public to be able to know, is the emergency the right place for them based on the time it will take to be seen? Or is it possible that they could go to another point of care, such as an urgent care clinic in the community as well? It certainly does not negate an emergency, though, if a patient would need to call 911 to come to the ER. But we think it's really important to be transparent with the community and let the community know what the wait times are when they arrive at the emergency room.
And joining us now for a quick look at the weather is Chris Potter. Chris, gotta say, that rain, freezing cold when it was falling today.
Well, at least it's a little bit warmer, Chris, than it was this past weekend. It was bitter cold, especially well north and northeast of the Windsor area. There is a system moving in. It's kind of replacing the winter cold that we had this weekend with snow, rain, even some freezing rain. Freezing rain was reported out of Sarnia. Freezing rain warning was posted. Now it's a winter weather travel advisory. Try to say that a couple of times fast. But it does look like the Windsor area, although you're seeing rainfall right now, it will transition over to some snowfall before the evening's done, and then it will clear off towards the east. Improving conditions are expected for tomorrow for Christmas Eve for those last-minute shoppers. We'll talk about that and, of course, Christmas and beyond coming up, Chris.
All right, thank you, Chris.
You got it.
And if those winter days do feel like they're slipping away, that's because the science shows that they are. As our Pratouche Tayal reports, climate change is to blame.
A new analysis by a climate research nonprofit has found that Essex area is losing out on 14 winter days due to climate change. For some, it means loss of a tradition. For a decade, Jeff Casey built an ice rink in his backyard.
Hoping that it would get this way this year, but it won't.
But less freezing days means Casey has to let go of the family tradition.
In the past 2 years, we're not getting cold enough temperatures to build a rink. So, in fact, this year and last year, I haven't even bothered to build one.
While his kids still want the rink, the last experience in 2022 was a lesson.
And we got 2 days of skating in.
Those experiences when you say, hey, the pond in my backyard used to freeze over for all of winter and I could skate on it, and it doesn't anymore. This data set really validates the experiences that many of us are having in observing the winters over our lifetimes.
It is a good thing for the grapes, and at Cooper's Hawk Vineyards Winery, we love it.
But less wintry, snowy days are good for this winery. O'Brien runs his wind machine during cold events that blows the cold air away from the plants and draws in warmer air from above.
First time in 15 years of growing, we did not run that wind machine last year. Thank goodness. I'm happy to never run it, but over the 15 years of growing, we've probably run that machine 100 times.
Winter days being down and replaced with rains is a blessing for them.
So if we get rainy winters, it allows the water to go into the soil deeper, and then in the summertime, less rain, the plants will produce better grapes.
The grape growers of Ontario say they are using innovation to mitigate climate change.
That's all.
But for Casey, it means he's going to sell all this equipment now.
Some of the memories, which I have photos and videos of, are awesome, that will last a lifetime. So it is sad to see it go, not being able to do it. We will miss it, that's for sure.
Pratouche Tayal, CBC News, Windsor.
This time of year, there are a bunch of ways to help out your neighbors, and one way is by sharing food. The Windsor Islamic Association and the Palestinian Canadian Community Association joined forces today making meals for folks at the Downtown Mission. An organizer walks us through why they're building bridges and what they're cooking up.
We just wanted to take part with a community activity, and we wanted to connect and bridge more with the people. Our community is really very generous and they are involved, but it's kind of like maybe people don't see it enough. So that's why there's a guy, Saad Al-Faqih, came up with the idea to do a project like every month to do a day like that from a different country. We introduce people to our culture, the background, and so that we can be part really of Canada, because we are Canadian and we want to be part of it. The people that we're serving, they are as well, like from different places, backgrounds and stuff like that. And it's nice to connect with everybody. We do a silent stands every day. And we notice, like, because we're in the streets 2 hours every day, we notice the people who are homeless and they're walking the streets. And sometimes we hear them talking, sometimes, and we felt, connected that with the people there that now they're homeless as well. And that's where it clicked, because many people would tell us go home, and we are home. So it all together just came as a whole idea that, these people are part of the community as well. And we have to try to make things better, not only with serving foods, maybe even with opportunities, we do sometimes cultural events and these people are not involved. So we wanted to bring the culture to them. We are preparing something called makloubi. In English, it's upside down, because you prepare everything and then you just flip it and you serve it. You make it with chicken or with meat, cauliflower and eggplants.
That's a mouth-watering reveal right there. Another story of generosity. At the start of December, the shelves of the downtown Mission, they were bare. Now they're overflowing. Here's why.
Our shelves were empty at the beginning of December. Corn and beans. That's what we had. And right now we're bursting at the seams. We couldn't be happier. The amount of food that's coming from the community is unbelievable. Small people donations, not all big things, like small people that are doing can drives and just bringing in stuff. People are donating to come in and cook in the kitchen with us. So it's been fantastic. You can see our shelves, they're bursting at the seams. Even dog food, we got tons of dog food, which is great because a lot of people can't afford dog food right now. And we have such a variety as well, because with the different people in our community now, they have a whole different idea of their foods, just totally different than what we would normally have. So now we have a huge variety, so people can actually get what they're used to eating, and a healthy option. People here are giving. Everybody, they know that we had a huge issue, the word's gotten out, and everybody's stepping up. So it's fantastic to be able to get all this at Christmas time, and it's from the community just being helpful. Everybody cares about everybody, it's great.
This year, we've asked people in our newsroom to take a look back and reflect on the stories that we've covered. For our first reporter's notebook, the very recently retired Dale Molnar on a story that stuck with him in 2024.
I'm Dale Molnar. Over the years here at the CBC, I've covered numerous fires and, of course, the 401 pileup disaster that happened in 1999 just outside of Windsor. Now, we revisited that story because it was the 25th anniversary this year, and during that revisitation, I learned about a lot of the PTSD and the actual illnesses that some of those firefighters are still suffering today, even this length of time has gone by. Now, I also covered the funeral of Bob Price, who was a LaSalle volunteer firefighter who died of cancer related to his work in the line of duty. He was only about my age. Now, luckily, in 2007, there was legislation that was passed that recognizes line of duty deaths, even if a firefighter dies many years after they contracted the disease working, and he did. He retired a long time ago. So these deaths have made me realize the importance of our first responders and the way they risk their own lives to help us. Now, luckily, Fire Chief Ed Thiessen from LaSalle tells me that there are some new practices and new technologies that are protecting firefighters from these diseases, these cancers that they contract on the job. So now hopefully we will not see these things anymore. These things will be a thing of the past, and firefighters will be able to save our lives without risking theirs.
Very well put there, Dale. This is a live look outside with that misty stuff. Coming back, more after the break. You might be packing a bag to fly away this week. Holiday travels can be difficult this time of year with delays and cancellations that can consume a lot of time, a lot of money. The federal government is pushing for new rules that will help passengers better cope with those problems. CBC's Julia Wong has more.
Ottawa is proposing new rules it hopes will strengthen air passenger rights, and they come as new numbers from StatsCan show travel is almost back up to pre-pandemic levels. The proposed changes would require airlines to provide meals and, if necessary, overnight accommodations when flights are delayed by at least 2 hours, except in exceptional circumstances. Carriers would also have to provide assistance to passengers, but only up to 72 hours after their flight is delayed or canceled. And they would have to provide a refund within 15 days, down from the current 30 when a flight is canceled or delayed at least 3 hours. Passengers say they would be happy with anything that bolsters their rights.
I'm all on board with that, actually, and I think even the rights that we have right now have dramatically increased over the last few years with passenger rights.
Experts say the proposed changes are a step in the right direction, but also say they don't go far enough.
there's a lot of work that needs to be done here in Canada to make sure we have the same level of protection as other countries.
The Canadian Transportation Agency estimates the proposed changes would cost carriers $512 million over 10 years. It says for passengers, that works out to 99 cents per flight every year. The airline industry is taking issue with the proposed changes. The National Airlines Council of Canada, which represents the largest carriers in this country, says that the proposed regulations would be costly for carriers and would make air travel less affordable for Canadians. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
It was a mixed review for the economy today in Statistics Canada's latest GDP update. Mining, quarrying, and oil and gas led the way to an overall increase of 0.3% in October, slightly more than expected, but early estimates point to a small contraction in November. Analysts say the GDP trend remains below Bank of Canada targets. Many of them expect that that's going to prompt further interest rate cuts through smaller than those, though those cuts will be smaller than what we've seen so far. Paramedics across Canada are skilled and they're dedicated. They do important and sometimes dangerous work, but more and more of them are saying that that danger often comes from the very people that they're trying to help. As CBC's Nicole Williams explains, researchers are now trying to find out how often this happens and why.
For more than 20 years each, Kelly Edwards and Matthew Waugh have worked as paramedics, a job they love, but with a cost.
Our safety is put on the line pretty much on every call.
The two paramedics say they are regularly kicked, punched, spat on, and verbally abused by patients.
I had lots of threats of being, sexually assaulted and descriptions on how they do that.
Being told I will kill your family when I meet them is something that occurred more than once in my career.
Advocates say there are similar stories from the 40,000 paramedics across the country, and the problem only seems to be getting worse.
A lot of the people of the public aren't aware that this occurs frequently. They think it's an anomaly.
But it's still unclear how much and how bad the violence is that paramedics are facing. Most studies in Canada done on a regional level, and it's why researchers are about to undertake the first study of its kind, a nationwide survey of paramedics to better understand what's happening when they're on the job.
I think the public will be horrified to see the types of violence that are happening to paramedics, whether it's bullying, the intimidation, the physical assaults, the sexual assaults, the threats.
One of the questions, how are paramedics and their families being affected?
It's definitely changed me. It makes me less trusting of people. I know there's good people out there, but I definitely find myself apprehensive.
The survey is set to roll out in the new year, with researchers conducting as many interviews as possible. They say they hope the findings eventually are used as a tool to look for new ways to better protect paramedics while they're on the job. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
And a quick reminder that our Make the Season Kind campaign continues. So far, we've collected over 8,000 kilograms of food. We want to give everyone a big thanks for helping out. You can still drop stuff off here at our location between 9 and 4 p.m. until the end of the month. Welcome back. I'm Chris Ensing. He's Chris Potter, and we've got our Christmas forecast.
3 Chris's
We're
in
putting it
one
together.
show?
I tell you, didn't think it could happen.
Well, here we are. We're living the dream right now, Chris. Here we
Look at
are,
us.
Chris, and Christmas. And it's a good point. Christmas is just around the corner. Obviously, tomorrow, last-minute shopping for a lot of folks, Chris, and it will improve. Rain switching over to snowfall is expected through this evening, but the cold is gone. It was bitter cold in a lot of areas of Ontario, especially Saturday night and into Sunday. Ottawa still held on to the cold today, peaking at only -10. Windsor, around 1 degree, 0 in Toronto. Currently, temperatures are still holding in that value. Once again, that's what's creating the rainfall as opposed to snowfall. Freezing rain has still dissipated. It's still possible in the Sarnia area, but it looks like snowfall is taking over. That rain-snow line will start to shift towards the south and east, and that snowfall will start to take over across Windsor. No big accumulations here, but it will be a little slushy out there because once again, we're going from rain to snow, so still drive carefully, even though it's not going to be overly significant. For tonight and tomorrow, conditions improve. Still a gray weather day for Christmas Eve. It does look like a few hit-or-miss wet flurries will move in off the Lake Huron shoreline up towards Sarnia. It doesn't look like that will impact the Windsor area, but it's still going to be cloudy, limited sunny breaks. If you don't like the sound of that, because wouldn't it be nice to have a bright sunny day leading us into Christmas, it's going to be the exact same story. In fact, it looks a little cloudier for most areas for Wednesday for Christmas Day. But hey, if you're traveling anywhere, no active weather threat. As we get through Wednesday night and into Thursday, you guessed it, the cloud still lingers. Once again, there will be a few sunny breaks. In terms of snowfall accumulations, around 1 slushy centimeter in towards Windsor, Chatham, up towards Sarnia and eastward in towards London. It looks like 5 to 15 centimeters. But once again, no active weather is expected for tomorrow. Daytime highs anywhere from 1, 2, maybe 3 degrees. So it will be comfortable, but cloudy. In terms of what will happen for Wednesday, once again, a cloudy day. Temperatures peak at around 2. 3 for us on Thursday. We'll hold on to, once again, cloud cover with limited sunny breaks. Friday, we start to warm up towards 5. We have the chance of showers, especially late afternoon and evening, and highs near 11 for Saturday. What a contrast from last weekend with the chance of showers. And Chris, like I said, great day to get out and do your last-minute shopping. The question is, are you done yours?
Oh, that's a tough question. No, I've got one gift I've got to buy, and I'm driving to London to spend it with family. So
nice.
It's nice to know that it's not going to be crystal clear on the drive, but it's at least not rainy and full of that stuff that makes it difficult.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for this, Chris. You ready for your holidays? You got any big plans going anywhere crazy?
No, nowhere crazy, but I'm done my Christmas shopping for the first time early.
Oof.
I'm just throwing that out
good.
there.
That is good. Congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you.
Very well done. Very well done. That is it for us here at CBC News. Thank you very much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful evening.